Welcome back. It's Sports Talk, and Mike is here this hour.
A beautiful morning to you, and good morning to our viewers.
₦8 million, to boost their plans ahead of the semi-final coming up on Wednesday against Ireland. Can they qualify for semi-final with this major financial boost?
Well, for me, to start first, I think that financial boost will go a long way to also help the girls to up their ante by raising the standard of their game. I think it's a nice one, but the big question is, can they qualify for the next stage? I think it's another big question that we just keep our fingers.
So beat Ireland and qualify for the semi-final.
Of course, beating Ireland, that is the only competitive game that we won so far. You could also recall that in our first game against Samoa, we couldn't play that very well because of the heavy downpour. In our second game, we won Ireland, but in our third game against South Africa, we lost that very one woefully. The game that was supposed to take place a few days ago, because of the rain as well, so they did not. These are the indices that I'm just still trying to look at, that it is only one competitive game that we've played so far. So I think coming up against England, for me, it's going to be a very difficult task. I mean, Ireland is going to be a very difficult task, but then I believe with this financial incentive, maybe it could also help them to go a long way in also boosting the morale of the player to actually see if they can be able to win that very one. But then I think they've made their presence felt out there. They've done pretty well, gone beyond at least to so many expectations of some persons out there. I think it is a nice one, but then we just keep our fingers crossed, hoping that they are going to do the needful with this financial incentive.
Malaysia hosting this event, and Nigeria's female Yellow Greens are up to the semi-qualifier, quarterfinal right now, hoping to qualify for the semi-final stage of the competition. We've never been this far in a cricket tournament before, and now I think these girls are making us proud. Yes, they beat New Zealand, as the only team so far, because there was force majeure in the game against Samoa, and I think against England, where they lost to South Africa. So they won one, lost one, and of course I had to earn a point each from weather conditions that did not allow them to play against Samoa and England. Wish girls the very best, and we hope that you can qualify for the semi-final and go to the final. Who says that they can't do that at the first time of asking? So now let's stay away from cricket and quickly go to badminton, where Mike, the Paralympic bronze medalist Eniola Bolaji has edged her name completely into the annals of history by clinching gold at the Egypt Badminton International held yesterday. This is not the first time she is winning medal, but she defeated her Swedish counterpart Salon Lomsin 2-0. That's from 21-1 and another 21-2 in the women's SL3 final. Underscoring her dominance, she clearly shows that yes, she's an African champion, beating her Egyptian counterpart 2-0 to amassing gold.
Yeah, for me, no doubt, Eniola Bolaji is a shining light. I think she's been doing pretty well. Even the world have also recognized her prowess. In the last 2 years right now, she has competed in 10 major competitions and won all 10. I mean, for me, it's a big leap, and it also clearly shows her dominance right here in Africa, not just in Africa, but also taking it to the world stage. So for me, I think I'm very much happy with the progress of Eniola Bolaji, who says that she cannot even do more if the necessary equipment and support is given to her to continue with this giant stride. I think she will continue to do us proud, and I'm very, very proud of her achievements so far.
Eniola Bolaji, no doubt making Africa, Nigeria proud, winning 10 international tournaments so far in the course of our badminton championships. Let's hope that this will continue. Talking about the Paralympians reminds me that Iso Ogunkule is involved in table tennis championship. Faith Obazoye as well. They are among the nearly 300 tennis players that are gathered so far in Lagos today to participate in this national tennis championship. Mike, we've seen about 21 states gather with nearly 286 players coming together to partake in this para table tennis championship. A lot of people have followed this one for a long time, but we seem to be having more and more people. In fact, nearly 350 players are taking part, in this championship. Not just the players themselves. We understand some 67 clubs are taking part in 13 table tennis events that we are kicking off today in Lagos.
I think for me it's a nice one. Now I'm having about 350 players taking part in this massive one. I think it promises to be an exciting one, and definitely we are going to see some talents being harnessed from there if we can also keep our eyes on the ground to look out for those ones that have a special talent in them, because there is no how out of 350 that we cannot have at most 50 good players emerge from that angle. And it is also a plus for us even as we continue to prepare for other major games out there. So this is the way to go, time to time, organize this kind of competition, allow players to come and vie for honor out there, and you get to spot the good one among them. We continue to groom them up for the task ahead to do the nation proud.
350 Paralympians coming from 67 clubs and 21 states of Nigeria taking part in Paralympic table tennis championship. Definitely they should be able to spot talents out there. Let's stay away from table tennis now go to lawn tennis. And lawn tennis, the Australian Open, the first Grand Slam of the year, is come and gone. We've seen the winners emerge. Defending champion in the male category, Yannick Sinner, has emerged as winner of the 2025 Australian Open, while we had a new winner in the female category. Alison Keys from the United States of America emerged as the Australian Open new champion, our very first Grand Slam of the year. First, let's look at her performances leading up to this title in Australia. Mike, she's seeded number 19, but she's been able to take out top players in this tournament, especially the number 1 and the number 2 seed ranked players in the world.
Yeah, for me, I think it's quite surprising the way she came into the this year's Australian Open, ranked world number 19, but then her ranking wasn't a major say on what she was going to achieve so far this year. So, sometimes the ranking could be very deceptive, and you've seen it, because if there's anything to go by the ranking, then no one would have given Madison Keys any chance of even getting to the final. I mean, so many persons actually thought that it was going to be more like the end of the road for her when she met the world number 2, but then she was still able to defeat the world number 2, and that is where some persons began to take her serious. So for me, I think it is a very big one, and it clearly shows you the level of competitiveness within the WTA, where we are seeing players that is lowly ranked coming up against players that are well ranked, yet they were still able to defeat them. So for me, I think it's a big statement from Madison Keys, and I tell you, courtesy of that victory, her ranking now has plummeted from 19 to 7th in the world right now. I mean, it was a very big victory for her.
Big victory for United States of America. Madison Keys, 19th place, and now moving all the way to 7th. Talking about ranking reminds me that Aryna Sabalenka may have lost her final, could not defend this year's Australian Open title, but she has retained her number 1 status. Early in the next 2 hours or so, the ranking will be released, but no matter what, definitely it will be Aryna Sabalenka as the number 1 female tennis player for 2025, at least this January.
Yeah, no matter what happens, I mean, it is not surprising to me, because taking a look at her point ranking even before the Australian Open, she was way ranked better than even the second ranked player out there. Then getting to the final of this year's Australian Open is another massive point that she has been able to accumulate for herself, and got to the final. Then if you aggregate all the points that she has also accumulated for this year's Australian Open, add to her point ranking before, I mean, it is no surprise for me why she has retained her world number 1, or why she will be retaining the world #1.
Definitely, Arena Sabalenka will be retaining our world #1 status in the next 2 hours or so from now when the ranking will be released. But there's some little controversy afterwards of that winning or losing, do I say, in the final and winning the second place trophy. Yes, apart from getting nearly £1 million pounds sterling, which is the value of coming second in this tournament, she is now involved in a video evidence showing that she jokingly has mocked the #2 trophy she just won, because they seem to have been seen urinating over the trophy. This looks very awful, and she's now being investigated for bringing the trophy to a mocking status.
I think for me, if there's anything to go by that report, I mean, it's going to be a very bad one, a demeaning to the organizers, a demeaning to the world of tennis as well, because for me...
She's won this tournament twice before, and she was going to make it 3 times on the bounce, and only very few players, about 5 or so, have done this. And she's a top player since last year when she took out Iga Swiatek from the #1 status. Everybody had looked up to her to be an example to tennis, and now this is happening, and that doesn't look good at all.
At all, it doesn't. I mean, it doesn't show any professionalism at all. Neither does it even show the spirit of sportsmanship. That you were able to come second doesn't mean that you should titrate on the trophy, making mockery of the organizers. I mean, this is a competition that you've won, you know, consecutively before, and you know, getting to the final again for the 3rd straight time, and you could not win it. The next you do is to resort to, you know, abusing the trophy that was won or that is won by you. I mean, what then happens to the person that you defeated twice before? Why didn't they do that? So for me, I think that is lack of professionalism.
Interesting days ahead, because there will be some kind of investigation, and we'll see whether that video evidence is anything to go by. Meanwhile, Yannick Sinner, the 21-year-old from Italy, has continued to win without looking back at the controversy doping him with about doping scandal and all of that. He's won again the Australian Open for 2025. This is the 2nd time he's winning. He won it last year and bringing his total haul now to 3 Grand Slams. But yes, there is controversy. No matter what happens, he's still the #1 tennis player in the world that will be announced in the next 2 hours. He's undefeated now 21 times on hard court. That's for me very interesting. Since last year up to this point, he's never lost on the hard court. Is he the new hard court specialist?
I think it is looking likely that he is, or he will be the new hard court specialist. We talked about this yesterday, and I said it that I mean, he rather has been able to find comfort in the hard court. I mean, he has made that place a place of his own, his own terrain where he has gained mastery. You know, so
the first one on the hard court in the US, at the US Open in New York, and came back and won at the first one at the Australian Open. Went to the US, won at the US Open, that's in New York, and now back to Australia, winning again. 21 times he's continued to win on the hard court. Definitely, like we mentioned to you, that he will be the world #1 later today. Let's take a break at this point. When we return from the break, we'll go to football. The Nigerian Premier Football League here had returned after taking a few days break. Let's see what the results will look like and the table as well. Beyond that, the other top leagues across Europe are in very fascinating form, with some interesting results across, especially in the Premiership, followed mostly here in Nigeria. While we return from the break, we'll fill you in on all of the top leagues around the world. Stay with us. lot of financial boost coming away of the team. Meanwhile, we equally told you about the tennis championship that gets underway today in Lagos with 350 players from 21 states and 67 clubs all in attendance. And now let's get to football. Of course, you know that the tennis championship, the first Grand Slam of the year, has come and gone with Arina Sabalenka defeated in the final by Madison Keys for the female, while world number 2 Alexander across the country with 19 goal scores in those 7 centers. But the top of it all is Remo Stars. They seem to have extended their lead from what they left at the end of the first round, because they beat Aqua United in, wait for it, Uyo
versus United, who also failed to win their game away from home. But for Aqua United, I think it's been a very terrible season for them so far. You know, they was drafted in at some point to rescue them, but then he was still able to do nothing, and Aqua United continued to struggle. Not a good one for a team like Aqua United, who also, you know, won the league in 2021. I think for me, it's been a very terrible season for Aqua United.
Aqua United losing at home to Remo Stars. Hadland beat Lobby Stars by 1 goal to nothing. Plateau United beat Rivers United by 2 goals to 1. Rangers lost at home at the Cathedral by 1 goal to 2. Niger Tornadoes coming all the way from Mina to Enugu to beat the home side. Meanwhile, Sunshine Stars continue to make their case for a top place against Ikorodu. They beat them by 4 goals to 3. Nasarawa United totally beat Katsina by 1 goal to nothing. Abia Warriors were 1 goal better than Bayelsa United at the Samson Siasia Stadium. Sorry, at the Umuahia Township stadiums. I think that's the most we can take from the Premier League here in Nigeria. Mike, it is transfer, so a lot of these teams have been fortified. But let's hope that we'll give you more of the transfer stories on our program Sports Extraordinary at 6 p.m. Time for us now to look at what's happening.
Nigerian Super Eagles will get to know our opponent in a few hours' time. But one thing striking is that we'll find ourselves in Port 1. You know, meaning that we'll be avoiding some big teams like Senegal, Egypt, and the rest. But then we still stand a chance of facing some of the top opponents in the
Premiership in England. And interestingly, there were 6 away wins and 1 draw, and we saw about 3 games won at home. Mike, this looks very cheering. 6 away wins in Premiership in England at the weekend, and let's look at some of the results now. Is there any particular match fixture that got you thrilling? Especially for me, Nottingham Forest were beaten roundly 5-0 by FC Bournemouth. This for me wasn't expected, given their current form.
You know, building up to that game, I had actually said that it was going to be a very tough game for Nottingham Forest, despite the fact that they've been flying so far this season. You see, Bournemouth, you need to take a look at the way Marco Silva organizes that team. They've come in such long way that playing against them is more like a difficult task for you, because they hold on to possession. They know how to knock the ball around. They are not in a haste. They capitalize on their opponent. And whenever there is a little loopholes within the defense line, you see them taking outside 18-yard shots. Sometimes it goes in by deflection. So for me, I knew it even before the game that it was going to be a very tough game. But I tell you, it's a very disappointing one for Nottingham Forest.
We saw Brighton and Hove Albion lose at home to Everton 1-0. Nothing. Manchester City making a comeback with a 3-1 win over Chelsea. Is Chelsea not looking at the top 4?
Well,
with this kind of Reham to beat Spurs by 2 goals to 1. Aston Villa played a 1-1 draw with West Ham United, while Manchester United seem to have gotten their mojo back because they beat Fulham by 1 goal to nothing away last night.
Yeah, it was a result they needed. It was a scrappy, a slim victory, because I had to watch that very game. Fulham played everything: ball possession, shot on target. They had the better of Manchester United. But then, in the game of football, it's not about the ball possession; it's about all 3 points, and that is what Manchester United did yesterday. Let's
quickly now go to Italy, where we saw 25 goals scored at the weekend from 3 home wins and 4 away victories. This is very cheering. More away wins in the Italian Serie A there. Let's look at some of the results. But before we look at the results, something interesting. 40 yellow cards coming the way of these teams and 3 red at the weekend. What do you think? Are the referees very harsh in the Italian Serie A?
I won't say that the referees are very harsh. If you actually watch the Italian Serie A closely, you know that it's always a very tough and a very difficult league, where tackles flow left, right, and center. So if the referee doesn't, dish out this yellow card, then it might turn to a fisticuff, which is not, what is the intention of the game.
Okay, let's quickly look at some of the results. Torino beat Cagliari by 2-0. Como lost at home. Atalanta beating them by 2-1. It was the same scoreline between Napoli and Juventus, with Napoli taking all 3 points at home. Empoli played a 1-1 draw with Bologna, while AC Milan were strong for Parma because they overpowered them by 3-2. Inter Milan continued to make a statement for a chase at the park of the top, where they beat Lecce by 4-0. Inter Milan not allowing the leaders any breathing space
at all. I mean, they continue to chase, and I tell you, it's going to be 2 horse race at some point, because that is what is looking likely. Napoli also not backing down, but Inter Milan closely following them. I mean, we'll just see how this one pan out the last day of the season. Napoli
winners, just leaders at the Italian Serie A. Let's quickly see what we can get, but I think there's matches tonight at the Italian Serie A. Valencia will take on Hellas Verona in yet
last night in the game.
What was Valencia thinking? Considering 7 goals in the fixture like this, Valencia should have a pedigree to at least play to a respectable scoreline against FC Barcelona.
In fact, it was so terrible that even if in the first half they had considered 5 goals, they had to remedy the situation in the second half. It would have been more like 10-goal mauling, but then they had to reduce the deficit at some point to 5-1. I thought maybe they were going to at least reduce the tally further, but then they ended up conceding yet another 2 cheap goals.
FC Valencia, so far they are 19th place on the league table in the Italian Serie A. It looks like they may just be facing relegation if KI is not taken. Let's quickly go to the German Bundesliga and see what has happened there. Mike, we saw Borussia Mönchengladbach beat Bochum by 3-0. Meanwhile, Borussia Dortmund played at 2-0 with Bremen. While Bayern Munich, continue to make a statement for winning the league this season, beating FC Freiburg by 2-1. Bayern Munich, no stopping them.
No stopping them at all. I mean, Harry Kane, the goal machine, he continued to bang in the goals. I just hope that at the end of this season, this goal that is banging will count for him by capping it up with a major trophy. Right? That is what Bayern Munich is doing right now under Vincent Kompany.
Harry Kane looking for a trophy by all means. He missed it last season, and I hope he will get it this season. Meanwhile, FC Mainz beat Stuttgart by 2-0. Osborne won in the encounter against FC Heidenheim by 2-1 as well. RB Leipzig could not win Bayer Leverkusen. It ended 2-2 after 90 minutes. Meanwhile, last night we saw St. Pauli beat FC Union Berlin by 3-0. And for me, that was a shocking result. Meanwhile, Hoffenheim as well played a 2-2 draw with Eintracht Frankfurt. Maybe we can see what has happened in the French League One. It looks like Paris Saint-Germain is not looking back at the way they are playing.
Yeah, they are not really looking back after being boosted by their 4-2 win in the Champions League against Manchester City. They continue to maintain the top spot out there in French League One with another statement of intent. I mean,
from French side Montpellier to Spanish side Sevilla. Do you think this deal, which is worth about 5.5 million euros, will be the benefit of the Nigerian?
Well, for me, I think to him personally, it might be a good deal because leaving the club that he is, where he has endured a very frustrating season so far, to Sevilla, I just think the only positive in that deal is if he can get first team shirt, is going to help him a lot. And of course, we'll have about 2 other Nigerians there, Ihanacho, and talk about Chidera Ijuke, and he has also joined them, making the 3rd Nigerian in that team right now. But quite unfortunate, they are not even doing well in the league, in the Spanish league. Let's hope that his coming to the La Liga is going to help the team try to chase for a better finish.
For the French league, Accor is leaving Montpellier to the Spanish La Liga Sevilla. And the talk about Spanish league reminds me that Real Betis has equally signed a player from the Premiership in England. Remember him, Anthony from Manchester United has now joined the La Liga side for at least a season.
I think it's a good one for Anthony. Next game, you see them being beaten by a lowly ranked team, so it's been very terrible for them. But because of that victory yesterday, they are seated 12th on the log right now. Let's see how it pans out.
Well, if you're a follower of football here in Nigeria, watch out for Kwara United versus Eyimba today. That is a very crucial game. I want to keep my eye on it. And if you're a follower of the league out there in Spain, Deportivo Alaves is up against Celta Vigo tonight. Well, if you follow the Italian Serie A, there will be an encounter tonight between Venezia and Hellas Verona. We told you that. And